Greetings, vinyl community. This video is brought to you by the letter F and the number 45. Before I start, I want to give a shout out to Brother Carm. Carm, thank you very much. Your copy of Paleozoic is in the mail as we speak. Or at least as I speak. I don't know if you're speaking. You can speak if you want to. You can chat among yourselves or among yourself. But this is kind of inspired by Derek Higgins' recent videos where he's been going through his collection of 7-inch 45s. You don't see so many 45s on the vinyl community, so here we go. I've decided to dive into my closet full of 45s and pull out specifically the Fs. And I'm going to start with, I'm just going to whip through these fast because there are a lot of them. Start with Family and Strange Band. This is a French single that has two B-sides. It's got Weaver's Answer new version and Hung Up Down new version. And from the Fearless album, wonderful, wonderful album, Saturday Barfly and Spanish Tide. And this is the lineup with John Wetton. Chris Farlow, old hitmaker. This is from the 60s, his version of Paint It Black. He's currently in the reformed lineup of Colosseum. Fat Mattress featuring Noel Redding after he left the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Magic Forest, great psychedelic track with some cool echo effects. Always really dug this song. And a Spanish single by them, Naturally or Naturalmente, and Iridescent Butterfly, Mariposa Iridescente. Most of these foreign picture sleeves, you see, they just go with the English titles, but the Spanish always like to translate everything, and why not? Indeed they should. The band Fear Itself doing a version of The Letter. This was a band with Ellen McElwain on vocals. This is from 1968 or 69, I'm not sure. Wonderful vocals from Ellen McElwain. She's got this great dark alto voice. This is before she went on to her solo career, and they're basically a psychedelic blues band. The backside is Born Under a Bad Sign. I'd like to find their album. They did make one album. Bryan Ferry. This is an EP you see around a lot. Price of Love, Shame, 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 Heart on My Sleeve, and It's Only Love, the Beatles track. These are songs that were compiled on the American release Let's Stick Together, and in fact we'll come to the song Let's Stick Together later. This is Tomorrow, from the excellent album that he made after the first Roxy Music breakup, and the B-side, As the World Turns, is a really interesting non-album track. Moody orchestrated ballad co-written with Eddie Jobson and featuring Robert Fripp on guitar. This being from 1976, that's a period when Robert Fripp was kind of out of the public eye, so it was unusual to get anything from him at that time. This is a British edition of the same single. And this one is, what is this? I looked at it before, but Dutch, I think. Stimmen? Or is this German? It's maybe German. I don't know. You don't care. Tokyo Joe, also from the In Your Mind album, which is the one with This Is Tomorrow. And the B-side is She's Leaving Home, the Beatles song. That's from the All This in World War II project, which was a film that I've never seen where various people covered Beatles songs. There was a Peter Gabriel version of Strawberry Fields Forever in there too, which kind of flew under the radar. Here it is, Let's Stick Together. Again, it's one of those Spanish singles, so it's Trabajemos Juntos, with the B-side being a remake of Sea Breezes, the Roxy Music song. A lot of Ferry's early solo singles would have B-sides that were remakes of the early Roxy Music songs, particularly from that first album. Mr. Mustache, look at that. What Goes On from the next album, The Bride Stripped Bare, and the B-side is Casanova, a remake of that Roxy Music song from Country Life. This is a Dutch pressing. Fifth Dimension, Sweet Blindness. This is my favorite song by the Fifth Dimension, Laura Nyro composition. Wonderful song in praise of the joys of alcohol in a very exuberant and innocent way. Fire Ballet, the sort of symphonic proggy band, with Desiree backed with Carolan, or Carrie, I don't know how to pronounce that word, whatever that is. It's not Carolan. Firesign Theatre. There's a bunch of Firesign Theatre things in here just for fun, but basically promo items. Their Station Break and Forward into the Past. This is classic Firesign. This is really vintage. It's like a miniature extra Firesign album. They've, if you've heard their radio shows, which have been reissued on CD and as downloads a lot, they recycled this material a bit, but it didn't appear on their regular albums. What did appear on their regular albums is the extracts from Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers. So you've got a sort of abridged version of this side and the other side. Or no, you don't. You get, this is a one-sided single. So you only get this side, and then side 2 is blank and completely flat. More promos, the Holy Graham song backed with Mr. President from I Think We're All Bozos on This Bus. Live from the Senate Bar and Mr. President. Live from the Senate Bar being from the Dear Friends compilation of bits from their early radio shows. An EP with multiple extracts from the Everything You Know Is Wrong album. And the little semi-picture disc. It's a picture disc on this side and black on the other. They're single for the 1980 presidential election with Reagan on this side and Carter on the other. Hey Reagan is a sort of easy listening, nightclub, smooth, sleazy ballad in praise of Ronald Reagan, and the other side, Jimmy Carter, is a country and western hoedown in praise of Jimmy Carter. The Reagan song made it onto the album that followed this, Fighting Clowns, which used this same artwork. The Carter song did not. Some extracts from the Eat or Be Eaten album, I think. Wildman Fisher, The Circle, backed with Merry-Go-Round. And Wildman Fisher, I think little needs to be said. Very strange man, associate of Frank Zappa, who ended up feeling that Frank Zappa exploited him by putting out his album. The Five Satins, speaking of Frank Zappa, some of the doo-wop that inspired Uncle Frank in his formative years. In the Still of the Night. A bunch of singles from Flash, the band that Peter Banks formed after leaving Yes. None of these have sleeves, so not very interesting. Small Beginnings, Children of the Universe, a British pressing of Watch Your Step, backed with Lifetime, a US version of Lifetime. Fleetwood Mac, some singles from the early Peter Green years. Albatross, the song that inspired the Beatles to create Sun King. This is a Dutch single. And Green Manalishi, backed with World in Harmony. This is a German version. And also from Germany, Oh Well, Parts 1 and 2. The Flock, jazzy progressive band from Chicago, featuring Jerry Goodman, who's seen by himself on the reverse of the sleeve. This is a Spanish single. Jerry Goodman, of course, would go on to be in Mahavishnu Orchestra. And their version of the Kinks song Tired of Waiting, which for some odd reason, at least on this single, is credited to The Flock and not to Raymond Douglas Davis, which is a bit not cool. Focus, House of the King. This is a Dutch single from their native land. American single of Hocus Pocus, backed with Hocus Pocus 2. This, I think, is a different version from the album recordings, like Insanely Sped Up. And the German, I think, single of Hocus Pocus. Yes. Really nice sleeve on that. And Dutch version of Sylvia and Love Remembered. And I think a Dutch version of Harem Scarum, backed with Early Bird. Early Bird, it says, not Early Birth. From their Hamburger Concerto album. More doo-wop that inspired Frank Zappa. WPLJ, the song that he covered on Burnt Weenie Sandwich, by the Four Deuces, with the B-side credited to a different artist, Mr. Undertaker, the album, the song being Here Lies My Love. Frank Zappa also covered that song in a live performance that came out on one of the You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore releases. So much, much later than the WPLJ version. I'm not sure why I have two different copies of this same single. It appears to be the same Music City label, though this one has a lighter color. I think they're both originals. I'm not sure about that. This is a classic from the 60s, Master Jack. This is one of the reasons why I chose the Fs, because I wanted to show this one. 4 Jacks and a Jill, Master Jack. Very intriguing lyrics to this one. To some, it's taken as a veiled reference, that this band being from South Africa and a white band, but this is taken by some as being a veiled reference to the apartheid policies in Africa and rejecting the authority behind them. The band supposedly said that it was actually about a miner leaving the mine and leaving his foreman and going out into the world. But the fact that it's sung by a woman addressing a man gives it kind of a sexual feel to it. That it's about a woman leaving an older lover, or possibly just someone who is kind of a teacher, but having some kind of or developing some kind of inappropriate attachment. So who knows? Who knows? There are many ways it can be taken, but it's a really great song and a classic from the era. Aretha Franklin and her version of Jumpin' Jack Flash, and Keith is featured prominently on the sleeve and on the recording. It's the clear vinyl single, and this was from the movie Jumpin' Jack Flash, starring Whoopi Goldberg, which is a very funny movie. The Freshies, a song about record collecting. How can we not show the Freshies and I Can't Get Bouncing Babies by the Teardrop Explodes. Another one. This is another 60s classic that that had to be shown, and that's why it was the Fs. Friend and Lover, Reach Out in the Darkness. Has a lot of nostalgia value to me, not just because of its original release, but because it just happened to be an earworm at an important time in my life much later, which I won't bore you with. friends of distinction grazing in the grass. And you know what? It's a gas. And this one's kind of covered up. I had to put it in a sleeve. It didn't come with a sleeve. Robert Fripp and Silent Night. This was an insert from a magazine called Praxis. It was actually something that looked more like a book, but it was a magazine of some sort, so an art magazine. And finally, Fred Frith and his cover of Dancing in the Streets on Ralph Records. That's it. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Be well. Talk with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.